Hi, my name is Sue Obajeski, and this video is intended to walk you through the 3 physical chakra layouts using the base set of Haran Ua stones that has been charged against the Master Origin set. If you are not familiar with the concept of Haran Ua, I'll ask that you watch the introductory video on our YouTube channel. That will give you all the information that you need to understand the process and the purpose of Haran Ua. This video will take you through each of the 3 layouts. Each layout is done separately, and there are 72 hours in between each of the 3 layouts to allow your body to process. You will see some images that will give you an idea of where the stones go on the chakras, and in some cases, how the stones will move around on the chakras. So let's get started. Before we look at the first layout, I want to mention one thing. As I said in the introduction, after each layout is complete, you need to wait 72 hours before doing the next layout. So whether you acquired your base set of stones from us, or you have charged a master set of stones and plan to charge and use the base set you created, you will want to plan your scheduled chakra layouts for a period of time when you know you can maintain the schedule. Here you see a sample schedule. You can obviously start on any day of the week, but just be sure you've set aside the time. It's not necessary to schedule the layout at exactly the same time of day, but do not start earlier than 72 hours, and try to stay within 4 hours of the previous layout session. While 72 hours is the optimal time between layouts, you can perform the layouts 96 hours after the previous session. If you must do so, you should schedule all layouts 96 hours apart. Now let's take a closer look at the first layout. This is the Haran Ua layout for Cascading. This layout's purpose is to clear and prepare the chakras for connecting to the stones. Here you see an image of the body with the chakras overlaid and labeled. For those of you who don't know anything about chakras, it would be important for you to take a look on the internet and see their origin, what they're about, how they circulate and access energy. That will help you in understanding how you can use stones on the body and the chakras if you have not already used stones in crystal layouts. So you see the labels for each of the chakras there. On the left-hand side, you see the instructions. Beginning at the first position, which is at the bottom, at the root chakra, you will spend 10 minutes with the stones that you see labeled here on that chakra. The amethyst and the rose are at the solar plexus, the clear and the rutile are at the sacral chakra, and the smoky and the citrine are at the root chakra. So the first 3 chakras from the bottom up are where the stones will be placed. And the order in which you see those stones is placed from the client's perspective. So if you're laying the stones on your own body, the amethyst would go to your right, the rose would go to your left on the solar plexus, the clear would go to your right, the rutile would go to your left on the sacral chakra, and the smoky would go to your right, and the citrine would go to your left on the root chakra. After 10 minutes, you will move those stones up to the next 3 chakras for the second position, and they will remain there for 10 minutes as well. Again, you see here the labels. So the third eye, you will use the amethyst and the rose. The throat, you will use the clear and the rutile. And the heart, you will use the smoky and the citrine. Some people have a little trouble putting stones on the third eye and getting them to stay on the forehead. If that's the case with you, you can set them on either side of your head, directly aligned with the third eye. After 10 minutes, you're going to move the stones up again to the third and final position, and you will spend 10 minutes there too. Here you see, if you look at the crown, you will see the stones placed with the termination points pointing down. All of the stones from left to right that you see as you read them on the chart will be from right to left on your body. So in sequence from the right to left, it would be amethyst, rose, clear, rutile, smoky, citrine. Encircling the crown with a termination point pointed downward. You'll note that the note at the bottom of the slide says that the pairs of the stones are placed on all the other chakras with the terminations pointing toward the crown, right to left from your perspective if it's on your body, except at the crown. So as you're bringing them up from the root chakra through to the third eye chakra, the termination points will be pointed upward toward the crown, and once they get to the crown, they will be pointed downward. Again, if you have any questions, you can email us at haranauamaster@gmail.com. This is layout number 2, referred to as pulsing. The purpose of this layout is to awaken your body to the frequency of the stones before it's connected to the base stones and ultimately to the master set. Before I do a step-by-step review, let me just point out how to interpret this layout so that it's a little easier for you to follow. Start at the far right column, and there you will see the chakra labels, as on the previous slide, and you will see a list of 5 of the 6 base stones. The clear stone will be placed at the crown chakra with a termination point pointing downward. The amethyst and the rose will be placed at the heart chakra with the termination point pointing upward. And the smoky and the citrine will be placed at the root chakra with the termination points pointing upward. These stones will remain in place throughout the session. The last of the 6 stones, which is the Rutile, is the one that will be moving throughout the session. The purpose of the Rutile and its movement is to integrate all of the energy and awaken you to the frequency. So we begin by placing the Rutile at the third eye with the termination point pointing down. It remains there for 2 minutes, and then it is moved to the throat chakra, again with the termination point pointing down, and it remains there for 2 minutes. Then it moves to the solar plexus, termination point pointing down, and it remains there for 2 minutes. And finally, to the sacral chakra, where it is placed termination point pointing downward and replaced for 2 minutes. After that, we're going to reverse the movement of the Rutile point. We're going to point the termination point upward and move it back to the solar plexus from the sacral chakra. Let it stay there for 2 minutes. Then move it to the throat chakra and let it remain there for 2 minutes with the termination point pointing upward. And then to the third eye and let it remain there for 2 minutes with the termination point pointing upward. Finally, we will move it to the crown to join the clear quartz, and it will be turned downward with the termination point pointing down toward the crown. And the Rutile will be to your right if you are laying the stones on yourself, and the clear quartz will be on the left. It will remain there with the clear quartz for 5 minutes to complete the session. You can look through the notes that you see appearing in the color-coordinated colors for the chakras on the lower left-hand side of this for more detail. And I recommend that you go through this a number of times before you try the layout so that you can do it seamlessly and get through it without frustration for yourself or for your client. The final layout is the simplest. All stones remain in place for 20 minutes with the termination points pointed upward. You will see here again the image of the body with chakras and the labels. This is the connecting final layout. This completes the connection to the origin master set from which your base stones were charged. Here on the left-hand side of the image of the body, you will see the stones. For this layout, you will need 1 additional stone, and that is a piece of fluorite. It can be any color fluorite. It can be a fluorite with a termination point, or just a simple tumbled stone, or a small specimen. For the crown, you're going to be putting the stones above your head in general. The other way that you can approach putting stones at the crown is to put it as close as you can to the crown of the head, and then to put a towel or something over it to keep contact with the head. This is a bit easier to do if that's what you're doing with a client, but as long as it is right above the crown, you are fine. So from the root chakra up, you're going to be placing the smoky quartz on the root chakra. The citrine will go on the sacral chakra. The rutilated quartz will go on the solar plexus. The rose quartz will go on the heart. The clear quartz will go on the throat. The amethyst on the third eye. And again, if you can't place it on your forehead, you can put it to either side of your head aligned with the third eye. And finally, the additional piece, the fluorite, will be placed at the crown. Fluorite is used to amplify the connection and the network of all of the stones so that you get the optimal results. If you choose, you can repeat this final layout as you desire with at least 72 hours in between. You can wait a week, you can wait a month, you can wait a year, however often you would like to do it. You don't ever have to do it again once you have done and completed all 3 layouts. As we've noted them here, your connection is complete to the base set and to the master set from which it was charged. Before I show you a video of some sample stones so that you can see the directions on the chakras and a little bit more in-depth information on the layouts, I did want to do a little bit of a base set primer. If you have not looked at the introductory video, you will get more information there, and I encourage you to do that. But for the purpose of the layouts, I just want to review it a little bit. A base set of stones is always charged by a master set. If you acquire a base set from us, your set will be charged against the origin master set. If you create your own master set, you will have a base set within the confines of your master set, and you will use those base set stones to do your layouts. Here you see an example of the base stones: clear quartz, citrine, rose quartz, smoky quartz, rutilated quartz, and amethyst. Sets are always stored in rows with the termination points facing each other. This keeps them networked and keeps the energy circulating. Master sets, which are comprised of a minimum of 12 stones, are an even number of stones always, and they are stored in rows as well with the termination points facing each other. I wanted to spend a few minutes going over the stones in the base set and how they're positioned on the body, just to answer a few questions that you may have. We've laid out in detail on each of the slides the direction that the stones go, so feel free to use those for reference. Perhaps if you have questions, you can always message us or email us at haranouamaster@gmail.com. But I did want to give you a little bit of a live demo as well, just in case you have questions. So there you see the base set of stones. Again, the base set is comprised of smoky quartz, amethyst, citrine, clear quartz, rutilated quartz, and rose quartz. And when we talk through the layouts, you see that in most cases, the termination points of your polished or natural points are going to go up. So they're placed on the chakras pointed toward the crown. There is one spot in the second layout where there is a stone, the rutilated quartz, that's moving down through the chakras, and the termination point goes down, and then it goes across, comes back up again through the chakras, and ends up at the crown. You'll see in the first and second layout that the crown stones are always pointed downward at the final position. And that is because we are networking the energy from the base stones, which comes from the master set, throughout the body. We're preparing your body for that connection to the base stones in the master set and to higher consciousness and all sentient beings. The final layout, you will notice that all of the termination points go upward and remain in place, including the crown. And that's because at that point you are connecting, making the final connection to the base set and the master set and to higher consciousness and all consciousness and universal energy. So when we're talking about the termination points pointing up through the chakras, this is what it would look like. For the ones that are pointing downward at the crown, it would look like it's here. And when we talk about the third eye, so for example, if you're putting a stone on the third eye, depending on the shape of your stone, it may be difficult to get it to balance. This one happens to have flat edges, so it's not so difficult, but if you have any trouble laying it on the client or on yourself and balancing it, you can position it right next to the head aligned with the third eye. So that will have the same effect. That is also true for the throat chakra if you have trouble there. In the trunk, in the main chakras, you're really not going to have that problem with heart and sacral and root, but in the upper chakras you may. So feel free to put it next to the chakra directly. When we are using the crown chakra, because we're not actually laying it on top of a chakra, it's sitting next to it. So when the termination point is pointing downward, it would be pointing and touching the crown. When it's pointed upward, the base of the stone would be touching the crown. So don't worry necessarily about having to connect it by laying it on the crown. There are ways that you can tie something on, but it's really not necessary in this case as long as either the base or the termination point is touching the crown, depending on which layout you're using. So that'll give you a little bit of information on how the stones are positioned and how they're used. Again, I encourage you to use the layouts that we have in the slides that you've seen because that will help you as a referral. And if you have any questions, you can always get in touch with us at haranouamaster@gmail.com. Those are the three layouts. And before we close, I want to just give you a brief overview on feedback in case you would like to present some for our consideration. We'd be happy to have that. We are trying to get some anecdotal evidence and keep notes on how other people respond to these stones, just for posterity and for future feedback to others who are acquiring base stones or creating master sets. This presentation does not include feedback on what you should feel after each layout or after all layouts are complete. Each person is likely to have a different reaction depending on what they need, how sensitive they are to the energy, and their emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual state of homeostasis and wellness. We encourage you to note your reactions to each session after you complete them and note how you feel 72 hours after completing all sessions. If you would like to share your feedback with us, you can email us at haranouamaster@gmail.com. Please note that if you make comments directly on our YouTube channel to this video, those will be moderated before they are posted. That completes the overview of the three layouts for Haran Ua. Again, if you have not already looked at the introductory video, we encourage you to do so that you can have some context on the process and the purpose. If you would like to arrange to have a base set charged from the Origin Master Set and shipped to you for use, contact us. If you would like to share your feedback with us after completing the layouts, contact us. If you have questions about the Haran Ua process or purpose, please do contact us. Here is our email address, again, haranouamaster@gmail.com. And again, please note that if you make comments directly to our YouTube channel or to this video, they will be moderated before they are posted. Thank you for your attention. I hope you found this informative and educational, and I encourage you to get involved in the Haran Ua process. It is very profound for holistic and metaphysical healers and for those who wish to connect to the earth and to higher consciousness.